Hi, greetings from New York City. This is Suzzy Roche of the Roches, and we're celebrating 20 years of Retrospectives with John Broughton on 3SER KC Radio. Peace on Earth. We were...
Okay, to an outsider like myself, one would naturally assume there was a lot of music in the Roche household growing up?
Yes, we were always making up stories and songs for ever since I can remember.
Did you have any formal vocal training yourself?
No. No formal training. It was totally from our imaginations. It was really what we thought music was.
You were still in college, I believe, when your sisters began performing. Was it always inevitable that one day you'd join them?
No, not at all. It was kind of just a fluke thing. We decided to get together to sing Christmas carols one year, and then we just continued on after that.
What was the folk scene like in Greenwich Village when you first began performing there in the late 70s? Because it had been a while since the initial folk boom of the 60s had passed.
When we first came, It was totally dead, in a beautiful way. It was sort of the dregs, the leftovers of what was happening in the 60s. And so there was a real freedom. You could do whatever you wanted, and there were a lot of people, sort of old, cranky people hanging around there. And we kind of came in, when it was like that.
Now, the Roches were well known for their great harmonies. Do you have a golden rule for good harmony singing?
Oh, no, it's grueling work. It's very, the way we do it, it's just hit and miss and many long hours, and, it's worth it because in the end it sounds nice, but not everyone would have the patience. Is
being sisters an advantage in getting it right?
Yeah, I think so, because we have an understanding about, what we're all the sound we're all trying to get, so. But there are tense moments, definitely.
How about being in a ongoing working, almost business, I guess you'd call, relationship with your sisters? Was that a difficult thing at times, or was it an advantage? It was great.
It was great and horrible. Probably like everything else. But most of the time we had a lot of fun, and we just knew each other for so long, and it wasn't really like a business thing. Mm-hmm. Even though we were in business, we also had just a very deep connection. So I would say on the whole it was a positive thing.
Your folk backgrounds, the Roches had some interesting collaborators on their albums, the likes of Robert Fripp and members of Patti Smith's group, I think, were there at some stage. Were you intentionally trying to expand into a rock audience there?
No, we weren't really accepted into the folk world. When we first kind of came on the scene, it was during the punk time, mm-hmm. and we were sort of considered to be punk folk, whatever that means. And so we attracted people from all over the place, because it was kind of hard to categorize what we did. Mm-hmm. And Robert was just happened to be there at the time, and we hit it off very well.
Was it a tough decision for you to eventually go your separate ways musically?
It was just inevitable, because we're older and we've been doing it for so long, and everyone sort of grew too big for the rigorous, the regimentation on our lives.
What are the others up to these days?
Well, actually, Maggie's in the next room.
Oh.
We're up here at Harvard University at this doing an amazing project about prayers. Making songs out of prayers, which is just turning out to be a beautiful thing. Very intense. Do you know who Anna Devere Smith is?
I've heard the name, but you'll need to enlighten me.
Well, she's a wonderful scholar and actress who wrote two pieces, her most well-known pieces, about the racial problems in this country. And she has an institute where she invites artists to come and do a project, and that's what we're doing right now.
Oh, tremendous! And what format will that see when it's finished? Will that be out as a CD or?
Hopefully, hopefully.
Terrific. Was it a daunting feeling for yourself to be out there on your own after being involved in a group situation for so long? Was it nerve-wracking, suddenly being the main focus?
It was the most terrifying thing I've ever had to do. And I didn't really, it was not the most fun I've ever had. But I had some amazing experiences in that very first year, and it was kind of like a birth. It had its painful moments, but it really was great too.
What about going into the studio? Was there some tentativeness there too with your first solo recording?
Yes, the first one was, I was very much grieving over my father's death at that point, and most of that album is about, almost every song really is stemming from that. So I was not in the best condition emotionally when I did that album, but it was a very healing thing to do. And then the second album was more of an uplifting sort of a thing, because I think I had gone through this hard time, and people really came out of the woodwork to help me along. And that's really what the second album is about.
Going into a solo career, was there anything about your solo work that you wanted to intentionally set it apart from, or distinguish it from your work with the Roches?
Oh, it wasn't really that calculated. I simply needed to find my own voice. And I think all of us did at that point. We were together for 20 years, and people, don't really know the difference between one or the other of us. And it gets a little strange, and you sort of wonder if you're a complete person on your own. So it's been good for all of us to have the experience of being one person in the world instead of one of three.
Do you think your method and approach to songwriting has changed since you've begun recording for yourself?
Oh, yes. I think I've only really began to write, towards the end of the Roches in a serious way. And that was one of the things that I had to do. I just needed to write on my own. And so it's changed dramatically, because with the Roches, we were writing for three voices, and it was more a group mentality. With my own songs, I'm writing, with one voice, even though I still like to use harmony.
So songwriting's become a learning experience all over again for you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's great.
You must be enjoying that.
Very much.
Now, you're with Red House Records. They seem to be a label that's suited to you. They seem to specialise in that acoustic genre. Have you found them good to deal with?
They're fabulous. I love them. It's such a welcome relief after years of being on major labels that, have no idea what to do with this kind of music. They're good people. They really like music, and it's been fabulous.
Have they offered much input into actually what they're looking for in terms of sound from you, or they've pretty much left you to pursue that yourself?
They've left me alone. It's a kind of unique situation. They've been they've just been great.
Just stepping back to your songwriting, do you think the songs that you're writing now would have come out anyway had you stayed within the confines of the group, or?
No.
They would not have?
No, I don't. Yeah. I think that I couldn't even begin to explore my own voice, being in the group. It just, not because of anything anyone was doing, it just, the chemistry was different.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the songs on the new album, which I'm really enjoying. Were they all written since the last solo album? They were all written in that time frame?
Yes.
How would you describe this album in terms of its progression from the previous one?
I think that this is, like I said before, the first one was a kind of a melancholy album, and it was about a person going out on their own. And this is about meeting up with some, angels along the way who help. And it's sort of a renewed album about love. It's a gentle album.
Mm-hmm.
It's very... And there's so many different sort of, I guess, middle-aged love poems on there.
What about performing live? What's the makeup of your live shows these days?
Well, I just did a show in New York where I had a lot of different people from New York, playing along with me and playing their own songs too. But when I go out on the road, I usually just go by myself, or sometimes Maggie has been coming along with me. And but I don't really like to go out on the road as long as I used to,
Mm-hmm.
I like to do it a little bit at a time.
Did you have a chance to road test any of this new material before you took it into the studio?
Yeah. A lot of it was written in the course of touring by myself. And it was a reaction to lots of different people I met on the road, and just the experience of going out alone.
Now, something else you've been involved with a bit over the years is work in film. Can you give us a bit of a rundown what you've done there?
Oh, well, probably the best-known movie I was in is called Crossing Delancey. I don't know if anybody there has ever heard of it, but
yes.
It was kind of a big movie over here, and that was great. And I've also been working with a group called the Worcester Group, which is a theater company in New York, who are going to Australia, actually, in next year, I think. But I'm not going to be going with them. They're doing another piece. But, I do a lot of different things like that.
Is that something you'd like to keep pursuing?
Yes, that's something that I like to do different things, because it keeps anything from getting too stale.
For you, how does performing for a camera compare to performing for a live audience? Is it a more difficult thing to do?
I would say it's like the difference between performing live on stage and being in the studio. It's a whole different thing, and I like both of them.
How important for you would be to maintain a sense of humour in your music?
A sense of humor. I would call it more of a whimsical, childlike flavor. That's what I like to keep.
I've always found that element there in your work.
Yeah, that's something that I enjoy. It makes everything more fun, just generally in life.
Mm-hmm. Something else you were involved in recently, which went down really well here, was the Bleecker Street compilation that came out.
Oh, yeah.
How did that come about for you, and who chose the track?
Well, Stuart Lerman is a dear friend of mine, and he was making the record, and he picked that track out for us to do.
And
that's a great record.
It is a fantastic record. It was one of the best releases last year, I felt.
Yeah.
And it did very well down here. In terms of touring for this album, what are your plans for the rest of the year?
Well, I'm pretty busy. I've got sporadic dates through the year, and also I'm going to be involved in a play in the fall, and so I'm pretty busy.
Any chance we might catch you down under?
Oh, I would love to go there, except for one thing.
the distance.
Plane ride. I'm sure everyone says that, right?
That's a very common answer, yeah, and I can understand it too.
But I would love to. I mean, I can't. I was just talking to Issei Barnwell from Sweet Honey in the Rock.
God, they've just been, yeah.
Yeah, she was telling me all about it, and it made me want to go even more. But, you never know. Somebody has to kind of ask you to come.
Of course, yeah. Well, I'll put the word around and we can get happening. Okay, Suzzy, I'll let you get back to your project there. It sounds like something very special, and we certainly hope we get to hear the finished product there.
Yeah, and I'm so glad to finally connect with you.
Yep, Yeah, persistence pays off.
Yeah.
Okay, you take care and thanks for your time. I do appreciate it.
Oh, me too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.